Today on Investigate TV Plus, grandparents forced to raise children a second time.
This is my purpose right now. For whatever reason, that's what Lord wanted me to do.
But finding affordable housing for both generations isn't easy.
The focus still seems to be on either family or elderly, but not that combination.
We go in depth to find solutions that support struggling grandfamilies.
Then protecting against dog attacks.
If that dog gets over the threshold, you're not getting them back.
We break down ways you can help prevent a dog from harming you or someone else.
Take a hard step at him. So he didn't particularly care for that.
Plus, a brush with death inspires works of art.
Here comes the fire truck and the ambulance, and it was just a period of chaos.
Meet a mother using vivid colors on canvas to encourage people to learn a life-saving technique.
In-depth stories that inform and inspire. You're watching Investigate TV Plus. For millions of grandparents across the country, their roles are changing. I'm Tisha Powell.
And I'm Lee Zurich. They find themselves not just a grandparent, but raising children again. About a third of kids in the U.S. are being cared for by their grandparents, something known as grandfamilies. And it's a responsibility that often comes with little help, especially with housing.
Reporter Kristen Crowley shows us the push to support more grandparents who are raising children for the second time in their lives.
Life doesn't always go the way we plan.
When your youngest son became an adult, did you think, that's it, my parenting days are over?
It's funny you asked that.
Sue Turner, a mother of 3, had life all figured out when she became an empty nester.
My plan was, when he graduated, I was going to go on a cruise for myself.
Did you ever get to go on that cruise?
No, ma'am.
Instead, Sue traded in the sun and the waves for diapers and formula.
About 12 years ago, Sue got a phone call letting her know she had a newborn grandson. But the call wasn't just to let her know he arrived. It was to ask her to take him home. His parents couldn't care for him, and the baby was born with drugs in his system. He otherwise would have been taken to foster care. For Sue, the choice was clear, and it wasn't the first time she had to make it. At this point, you already had his older sister.
Yes, I got her about a month before. She was 18 months.
Grandma Sue Turner was taking on the role of parent all over again, more than 20 years after she first became a mom.
So you were starting all over.
Starting all over, and I was a single grandparent raising 2 grandkids.
She's not alone in this unexpected life change. It's estimated more than 2.5 million children in the U.S. are being raised by a grandparent.
Are we seeing a trend, a growing trend in grandfamilies?
We do know anecdotally that we are seeing a lot more.
A trend Anna Beltran, director of the Grandfamilies and Kinship Support Network, says comes in part as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic that left some children orphaned and the opioid epidemic that left some parents incapable of taking care of their family.
Is it easy for grandparents to take on the role of being a parent to their grandchildren?
Easy, no. And it's often in a moment's notice. Moms drop the child off with grandma.
That's not the only struggle. Financially, Beltran says many grandparents are strapped. Some are forced to drain their bank accounts to provide for their grandchildren. And one of the biggest burdens is housing.
We've had cases of grandma and 4 kids in a studio.
Sue knows just how important that housing is. She lives in a building specifically for grandfamilies. All 36 units at Pemberton Park in Kansas City, Missouri, are dedicated to grandparents raising their grandchildren.
If this apartment for grandfamilies didn't exist, where do you think you'd be right now with your grandchildren?
Struggling.
Pemberton Park is the only one of its kind in the region. And according to Beltran, one of only 20 in the nation.
We had a waiting list the day that we opened.
Ed Lowndes is the executive director of the Kansas City, Missouri Housing Authority. He says not only does the building provide the space needed for grand families and amenities like a playground for children, the rent is based on what the grandparent can afford, no more than 30% of their income. He says without this complex, finding housing that fits the needs of both generations is not easy.
The focus still seems to be on either family or elderly, but not that combination. So we're very proud of what we have here today.
Have there ever been talks of bringing more of them to this area?
There have. The biggest impediment is funding.
That's something the federal government could change.
I have legislation to create a new grant program at HUD to help these grandparents be able to have access to more what they call multi-generational housing.
Senator Bob Casey of Pennsylvania proposed the Grandfamily Housing Act. He says it would create grants to help improve existing intergenerational housing and create special living for grandfamilies. And Senator Casey says the benefits are twofold.
Grandparents had to step in out of an act of love, and by doing that, saving the government a hell of a lot of money.
By keeping children out of foster care, which can be a costly expense for states and taxpayers. The bill has bipartisan support, but it's not a lock yet for the senator.
We've got a lot of work to do on it to get that done.
That work, Beltran says, is crucial to bring grandfamily housing where it needs to be.
Ideally, what's a number that you would want to be at for grandfamily housing in the United States?
Well, I would say at least, obviously, one in every state.
At least double of what we have now.
Oh my gosh, yes, at least.
She says that can happen if more people see the need and see the people impacted.
Is that you?
Mm-hmm. People like Sue.
This is my purpose right now. For whatever reason, that's what Lord wanted me to do.
Sue is still making plans.
Oh, that's basketball? Okay.
But now, at 65, they consist of raising her grandchildren to be good people who go on to higher education, who live happy lives, and eventually, when the time is right.
My goal is still to go on that cruise.
The Grandfamily Housing Act is moving slowly. Hearings just began in March 2024, nearly 1 year after it was introduced. But Beltran says her group will continue raising awareness on the importance of the issue and working to help grandfamilies in need.
Another barrier facing grandfamilies is getting legal custody of their grandchildren. Even when the parents want them to have it, the cost can be a hurdle.
And without that custody, grandparents can't make health decisions for their grandkids, enroll them in schools, and in some cases qualify for housing under housing authorities.
Children and grandparents coming together under one roof isn't just for family members. Some experts say there's a real benefit for daycares and retirement homes existing as one. In Kansas, a community created what they're calling Grand Friends.
It creates joy in people. To have generations be together is like real life. And one of the things that we're always taught is you don't want to feel like you're living in an institution.
To learn more about the impact intergenerational centers have on young and old, head to InvestigateTV.com and search Grand Friends.
Still ahead, keeping families connected across continents.
You miss him, you miss those sweet moments that, you know, it's treasured time.
How thousands of military families are building bonds one book at a time.
But first, a fight between dogs has a life-changing consequence for their owner.
There's beauty in tragedy, you know, and I believe that my journey is someone else's survival guide.
We take an in-depth look at what prompts a dog to attack and how pet parents can help de-escalate their aggression.
Nearly half of homes in the U.S. have at least one dog, and while yours might be the perfect pooch, experts warn any one of them can bite.
Such a good
Good girl.
Callista Munoz had it unexpectedly happen to her while attempting to break up a fight between two of her dogs.
I knew I wasn't gonna die like this.
Munoz got trapped in the bathroom and attacked by the dog she had been fostering for only 3 months.
By the time that I could grab the door, unfortunately, all of this part of my arm was already chewed out.
She spent a month in the hospital undergoing 18 surgeries, but eventually doctors had to amputate her arm.
I danced with the devil and I looked him straight in his eyes.
While Munoz recovered, she says she won't let the attack scare her from caring for animals.
There's beauty in tragedy, and I believe that my journey is someone else's survival guide.
Munoz is just one of more than 4.5 million reported dog bites in the U.S. each year.
The American Veterinary Medical Association says it's not a dog's breed that determines whether it will bite, but rather the dog's individual history and behavior.
They say there are several ways to protect yourself and for owners to help prevent attacks.
If that dog gets over the threshold, you're not getting them back, because they can only see red and they don't reason.
Cincinnati-based dog trainer Scott Joyce explains if a dog is charging at you, do not run.
They have 4 legs, you have 2. You're not going to win.
Instead, he says stand as tall as you can.
This is as threatening as you can be to the dog, and take a hard step at him. So he didn't particularly care for that. And I didn't even do it to him, I did it next to him.
And if a dog is already biting and won't let go, Joyce says you can try to close off their airway by twisting the collar.
You want to get their front legs off of the ground and stop their breathing, because at that point, then they're going to open their mouth.
But if there's no collar or leash, Joyce suggests hitting the dog with an object in sensitive areas, like the nose, ears, or underbelly.
If you can whack them across the nose with it, that's your best bet.
Experts also say pet owners can prevent bites by recognizing when your dog is stressed or uncomfortable and then remove them from that situation. A yawn, tucking a tail, laying down with a leg up, or staring at its owner stiffly could be signs a dog is frightened or threatened.
When you're out in public, you're standing in a line, put your dog in the middle position.
Ronna Robertson is with an animal shelter in Illinois. She urges owners to secure your dog with a leash and train them to stay close.
Chance right now is in a position called middle. He's between my legs, and he's in a position where he's staying with me and not going forward and lunging forward. This is where I want him to be.
Robertson says many people who meet a new dog have been taught to put their hands out to let them sniff, but she advises against that. Instead, ignore the dog until they come to you.
Don't let them approach other dogs and other people without them allowing it first.
Even at home, dog owners can help prevent an attack, especially when it comes to mail carriers.
It's those good dogs, the dogs that have had a bad day. Okay, they're the ones that come after us.
Joe Willers has been with the U.S. Postal Service for nearly 30 years, and he says he often deals with aggressive dogs.
I have been chased down by dogs. I have been bitten by dogs, not severely, but it happens.
In 2023, up to 15 times a day, more than 5,800 Postal Service employees were attacked by dogs while delivering mail. That's up 500 reports from the year before.
I believe that most carriers at one time in their career have had an attack by a dog.
The USPS says owners should secure their dogs before the carrier approaches by either keeping dogs behind a fence away from the mailbox or in a different room away from the door.
Still to come, a son's split-second decision saves his mother's life.
Had I not known the proper way to do that, the outcome certainly could have been different.
How one family's late-night emergency became a mission to educate others about CPR.
Plus, deployed but not disconnected. A father refuses to let distance steal story time.
It's just a way to kind of insert yourself or be part of that routine.
How military families are making memories no matter how many miles separate them.
Being separated from a parent for long periods is a frequent reality for military families.
When dad or mom is deployed, children miss out on special moments, but a nonprofit aims to strengthen their bond no matter the distance.
Reporter Deborah Alfarone explains how they're bridging the gap by reading together.
Hey guys, today I'm going to be reading you guys a book.
Military Acquisitions Officer Dave Bergman didn't want to let a couple of 1,000 miles and a few time zones stop him from connecting with his kids.
What's the hardest part about being deployed?
The potential to lose those connections that mean so much to you.
Monster trouble.
So, while deployed to Afghanistan, he picked up a book and started reading to his son Grant. Not over FaceTime, he's recording it through a nonprofit called United Through Reading.
It's just a way to kind of insert yourself or be part of that routine. Just be as silly as you want and then kind of make memories with your kids.
Is he a good reader?
He's one of the best readers on earth to me.
She got that monster.
United Through Reading Vice President Jessica Hall says the program has been around for 35 years. She says they've helped more than 3 million military family members strengthen the bond between parent and child.
Send them track for the monsters.
Here's how it works. The military parent uses an app. They can read a physical book or one of the pre-loaded ebooks. When done, they upload the file to the cloud. Back home, the family gets an email. A special read-along is waiting for them.
For the kid at home, you can request a free physical copy of that book. We know it's really important to flip those pages and have that tactile experience to learn how to read.
United Through Reading is funded through donations. They have books that are appropriate for all ages.
And then most importantly, we make sure that our books reflect our really diverse community that we have in this world.
There are hundreds of studies that boast about the benefits of reading for children. It expands their vocabulary, stimulates their imagination, and it can connect them to different worlds.
When your dad is deployed or maybe he's away working, do you miss him?
I miss him a lot. It doesn't feel right when he's not there.
And when you have him read to you through this United Through Reading, you get to watch him.
Yeah.
What's that like?
It's really happy and it makes me feel good. It just relaxes me and it feels better.
It's like he's there with you.
Yeah.
When you see your children watching their dad read with them, what does that feel like for you?
You miss him. You miss those sweet moments that, that it's treasured time, and you really realize how valuable that time is when they are home.
A lot of work on any of those deployments for any spouse to kind of keep the household together. Tools like United Through Reading and through other things that you could kind of connect and give your spouse a break. Like, hey, why don't you read? Or hey, can you record like 5 of these things?
And I can't wait to get home to see you. I know it's going to be a long time. Okay, goodbye.
Keeping story time alive no matter the mission.
Reading together aloud not only helps create stronger bonds, but can impact a child's behavior and how they cope while their parent is away. A third of military children from active duty families report feelings of stress or anxiety, but those symptoms are reduced when families read together.
Those sorts of interactions is what is really protective for that child forever. It really buffers against other adverse childhood experiences.
Experts say it can also improve children's listening skills and language development. When my husband was deployed to Iraq, I made some videos of him before he left, but this new technology actually helps keep the connection going.
Imagine if you would have had that. It would have been, it's just, think about reading time. I think about reading to my kids when they were little. Those were such special moments, and being able to create those, pretty nice, yes.
Yeah.
Up next, a mother paints the moment between life and death.
When they shocked me, the first time it was just a flat line.
How she says art helps her to heal.
The whole canvas is covered with hands. Just white hands representing all the prayers and all of the healing.
Knowing CPR can mean the difference between life and death.
Fortunately for a South Carolina mother, her son knew exactly what to do when she went into cardiac arrest. Now she's turned her near-death experience into art and a mission to help save lives.
Reporter Carrie Beal shows us how she's encouraging others to learn the life-saving procedure.
And this black canvas that I'm starting with is representing what my life was like. It was black, it was dark. December 26, 2021, I went to bed, and I died.
Carrie Hudson is using the stroke of a brush to describe the scariest moments of her life.
And it was very chaotic. The other son was in the playroom with the dogs. They were barking because here comes the fire truck and the ambulance, and it was just a period of chaos.
At 2 o'clock in the morning, she started going into cardiac arrest.
When they shocked me, the first time it was just a flat line.
But then, as the red streaks show on her canvas, her heart started to beat.
My heart began to show some signs of improvement.
Survival being told through these art pieces, but it may have all been black, if not for her son Lee.
The fact that he knew CPR saved my life.
Obviously, we rushed in through this hallway, and my mom sleeps on the right side of this bed.
He brought his mom onto the floor so he could start compressions.
You know, my brother wasn't certified, my dad wasn't certified, my other brother wasn't certified. We were all here, and had I not known the proper way to do that, you know, the outcome certainly could have been different.
Those compressions keeping his mom alive. And when she finally gained consciousness, she remembers one very vivid feeling.
What I do recall were these warm, loving hands that just embraced me. And it was God, no doubt. It was the healing hand of God.
These loving hands, starting with one and then many more.
The whole canvas is covered with hands. Just white hands representing all the prayers and all of the healing.
In a switch from dark hues to bright.
Feelings of gratitude is what comes to my first thought. Just gratitude that I'm here and that I survived.
Carrie says everyone else in her family has now become certified in CPR. That's it for us here on Investigate TV Plus. I'm Lee Zurich.
And I'm Tisha Powell. Thanks for watching. Next time on Investigate TV Plus, hundreds of thousands of children in the U.S. are without stable and loving homes.
What kind of impact does that have on a child?
It's a hurtful process, for lack of better words.
Our investigation reveals which states aren't following the law when it comes to finding foster children a place to live.